Oh, it all perfectly fits. Cheers to the mysterious drink of the video. Let's play the game. Is it alcoholic or is it non-alcoholic? What drink is this, in fact? And yeah, you can find out at the end of the video what I am drinking today. It has a little bit of a fizz to it, that's a clue. And so I'm gonna be burping throughout this video potentially, but we're talking about alcohol today. So basically, hey guys, welcome back to my channel officially and welcome to today's video. As I said, I'm wanting to talk to you guys today about my experiences with drinking alcohol, kind of like growing up, and then what happened during my summer of traveling. Because if you followed the vlogs, you'll know that I did try bits of alcohol. It's alright, it's quite nice. And you guys sent in quite a few questions on Instagram as well, which I wanted to answer. And yeah, I also thought we'd talk a bit about the biology of alcohol, given that I am a biologist. So I'm just going to sprinkle some nuggets of information throughout this video because, as we know, I love biology and I want to share it with you guys. I will be making a whole separate video that goes into a lot more detail on biology, which is my second channel dedicated to biology content. And yeah, it is officially jump season. But that is today's video. I hope you guys enjoy it. Definitely give it a thumbs up if you do. Anyway, so I don't know why I picked up a pen, but basically alcohol and me and alcohol. I am gonna throw it back as we usually do, but I think the first alcoholic beverage I ever tried, we could say, was Pimm's. Like, I can't even remember when, but my mum loves Pimm's, especially in the summer, and I feel like I just tried a bit of her Pimm's one day and it actually wasn't that bad. And then when I was like in secondary school, and in the UK that's when you're kind of in your early teens and people start having like parties and going to clubs, I don't know, I'm really confused with ages right now, but basically I never really went to many, like, actually I never went to any house parties. I was never really invited, or if I was, I didn't go. But basically the first time I had like quite a bit of alcohol and I really felt the effects was when I went to this like adult party. It was basically hosted by one of my mum's really close friends. At the time I was like a child, early teen, but yeah, it was like an adults party basically, and there was a lot of alcohol going around. I was offered like a drink and they had Pimm's. I knew I liked Pimm's because, as I said, I'd tried it before. There was loads of like fruit and everything, like this massive thing of Pimm's. I was offered a drink. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll have some Pimm's. They gave me loads of fruit, and I've always loved fruit, as you guys know. And classic me, what did I choose to do? I chose to eat all of the fruit. All I can remember is that there were lots of strawberries, and they just obviously soaked up a lot of that alcohol. Cutting a long story short, by the end of that evening, I was flat out on the sofa. I had this really bad headache. I felt so tired, and I just felt awful. I remember we had to drive back home. The drive wasn't like a really short, you know, trip around the corner. It was a long, like, hour to an hour and a half drive, and I just remember sitting in the back. My head was pounding, I was dizzy, everything was spinning, and I just felt so bad. Obviously I didn't like that experience. I hated the way it made me feel, and so after that I basically didn't really drink any alcohol. I think the only time I maybe drank a bit more was when I went to see Em at uni once in her first year or something. At Cambridge you have these parties called bops, and we went to one of those. There was a bit of alcohol. I tried some. Again, I didn't really like it, especially like the taste, and I was apprehensive because it made me feel really bad in the past. Pretty much after that, I didn't say one day wake up and be like, I'm gonna be teetotal, but I just never had alcohol, and so that is why I have always kind of labeled myself, or not really labeled, but just said to people that I don't drink, you know, I'm teetotal. Okay, drink break. The first thing might seem quite obvious, but alcohol isn't digested. It's absorbed into the bloodstream, and there it can travel all around the body and reach all of your organs basically, but it starts to be absorbed in our mouths, so it can be absorbed by our tongue and our mucosal lining, and then when it's in the stomach it can be absorbed through the stomach, and then in the small intestine it's also absorbed there. And the effects that alcohol has on each individual very much depends on like so many factors, like your age, your sex, genetics, your body composition, what you've eaten before you've had alcohol. For example, in your stomach, when you have food, that can not only absorb the alcohol itself, but it also just provides that physical obstruction. So that's why people tell you to eat food before you consume alcohol, because it won't say hit you as quickly. I actually forgot to say 2 disclaimers at the start of this video, so I'm going to say them now. I am not sitting here judging you. It's your decision as to whether you drink alcohol or not, and you should never feel any peer pressure to drink, okay? It's your decision, so please make that yourself. And the second thing that I am going to say, because I say it all the time, you should not feel bad if you don't drink, and you can still have such a good time without alcohol. That is basically how I've lived the majority of my life and how I will do. So that is kind of like what happened in the past. And then, as I said, I didn't drink a lot of alcohol, and the main reasons for me doing that were because, you know, I'd had that really bad first experience. Secondly, I just really didn't like the taste. And another of the main reasons why I chose not to drink alcohol was because I'm someone who very much likes to be in control of like my body and how I feel, and it has always really scared me thinking about the fact that if I do drink alcohol, I will be maybe out of control, or I won't have full conscious awareness of like what I'm doing. It is also a lot cheaper to not drink alcohol. I'm not saying that that's one of the main reasons, but it is a lot cheaper if you choose not to drink. And related to like one of the disclaimers, you know, I knew that I could have a lot of fun without alcohol anyway. I'm normally a very like high energy person. Another little biology break. It sounds like I'm doing like a TV show, but yeah, alcohol metabolism. This is quite an important thing to talk about because yes, alcohol is toxic, so our body wants to get rid of it. The majority of alcohol is metabolized in the liver. Over 90% actually gets broken down in the liver, but it can occur elsewhere, so like in the brain and the pancreas, for example. And some alcohol will just be left unchanged and it will leave our bodies through like sweat or when we breathe out, so when we exhale. But in the liver, basically, there are 2 really important enzymes that break alcohol down. So these 2 enzymes are alcohol dehydrogenase and aldehyde dehydrogenase. The first one, so alcohol dehydrogenase, or ADH, that oxidizes or just turns ethanol into acetaldehyde, and then acetaldehyde is converted into acetate by our aldehyde dehydrogenase enzyme. And it is that intermediate compound, so the acetaldehyde, even though it's transient, it is responsible for like all of the unpleasant side effects associated with drinking alcohol, and it has also been identified as a carcinogen, so it is a highly toxic substance. So now getting on to traveling this summer and what kind of happened, why I decided to try some alcohol and everything like that. Excuse me. We are burping so much, like, jeez. Germany. So I started off solo traveling, but when I'm on my own, I don't go out that much when I'm traveling. Things, however, did start to change when I reached Munich. And who did I meet? I met Charles. This is Daniel. Yeah, the first drink I actually tried was some of Daniel's Danielle's Long Island tea, which is not tea. Right, what is this?
Long Island iced tea.
Oh, it's iced tea!
No, it's not.
It's a concoction of all white spirits, I believe. I know that now. Daniel was like,
have a sip.
Try some of my drink. And I tried it, didn't like it. Oh, how do you drink that?
That's good, no?
No.
No?
And yeah, we went out that night. I didn't have any more to drink, but that is kind of like where things started. And if we then fast forward to Berlin, when I ran my 10k race, the Berlin City Nights run, oh my gosh, I was on such a high after that run, like a runner's high classic. We were given like non-alcoholic beers afterwards. To this day, I still believe it was a non-alcoholic beer.
He's drinking beer. Drinking beer.
You smashed the target.
And we went out afterwards. We decided we were gonna go out, and I was like, you know, I'm gonna have my first drink. We were in this like, this kind of like corner shop. I don't know what you call them in Germany. I think it was like a 24-hour shop or something. And they had this like mini fridge with these interesting cocktails that you basically defrost using this machine. They had pina coladas, which to this day has been my favorite cocktail. I've always had it as like a mocktail. I love that combination of coconut and pineapple. But they had pina coladas, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I could definitely drink one of those right now. And so I think Charlie got me one.
We have a very strong pina colada. I am genuinely scared for my life.
Yeah, I was very scared to like drink my first full ever alcoholic drink, pretty much. But I was so happy I made that decision myself. I made all of the decisions myself throughout my travels. I want to make that very clear. I didn't feel any pressure. But yeah, I had my first pina colada. I do not know what the percentage was, but I do know that I drank it really quite quickly. I think through a straw. I was very much on a high that evening, and I couldn't really tell whether the alcohol actually had that much of an effect or whether I was just super excited anyway after the race. And then throughout the rest of my travels, I was just trying bits of alcohol when we'd go out, and other people would be like, oh hey, try this. I wasn't really having like a full drink to myself. It was just like sipping bits of alcohol here and there. One of the really interesting things about drinking alcohol is how it kind of affects your brain, and it kind of interferes with neurotransmission. So basically where information is transferred between different neurons or nerve cells across what we call a synapse, which is a junction between them. And we can divide this up into like excitatory neurotransmission, where one nerve cell kind of activates the other, or it can be inhibitory and have the opposite effect. But basically, as I said, drinking alcohol kind of like upsets this balance of neurotransmission in the brain. So in the short term, when you consume alcohol, it tends to have a depressant effect. It makes you kind of feel relaxed, a bit lethargic, confused. It might like inhibit memory formation, for example. And this is largely because we kind of increase inhibitory neurotransmission in the brain and we decrease excitatory neurotransmission. But on the other hand, and this is why all of this is really confusing, alcohol can lead to feelings of like euphoria in the short term. You know, you feel really happy, or you have reduced social anxiety, you feel more confident, right? That might be because alcohol results in the release of dopamine, which is associated with feelings of like reward and pleasure, and then things get even more complicated in the long term. We can reach a point where the brain tries to restore that balance, so we try to reduce that inhibitory neurotransmission and we want to increase excitatory neurotransmission. And this can translate into, say, tolerance, for example, where people need to drink a lot more alcohol to feel the same way. And beyond that, something that's called alcohol withdrawal syndrome. So like hyperactivity in the brain when they don't drink alcohol. So we have these mood alterations, all to do with changes in neurotransmission. It can lead to irreversible neurological brain damage. And at the same time, it leads to addiction psychologically and physical addiction. I guess my motto in life these days is very much to like not be afraid of trying new things. And so when people do offer me like a different drink, I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll try it, you know? Why not? And it was only until Seville, so Seville was the last city we visited in Spain, that is when I like decided for myself to actually go and buy my own alcoholic drink. It was happy hour. We were on the rooftop bar of the hostel. It was such a nice day. One of our last days traveling together, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get myself an alcoholic drink for myself. And I got myself a, oh my gosh, it was the pink ombre drink. What was it called? Look at the color. Look at that ombre. Tequila? I think it was tequila. And on that day, I probably drank the most alcohol I ever have done. I'm not saying I got drunk. I was just quite tipsy.
Get
Mary's Poppy's back. Mary's Poppy's. Who's Mary Poppy's?
Mary Poppies?
Because I had a bit of beer after that. I was trying bits of other people's drinks, and I had a Jaeger bomb, which came in a very strange form apparently in this club slash bar we went to. But I kind of made that conscious decision on that day to be like, okay, I'm gonna drink a bit more than I usually would. I know my limits. I am very much a lightweight, so I will get very hyper and very excited super quickly.
Tomorrow morning you'll see me at 6 AM with goggles on swimming off the top.
Yeah, she won't go for laps. Did you see what she just said? She got in my face and went From Holly!
Let's get this ice away from her.
One sip, I can feel it already in my head. I don't know if anyone else gets the same, but like I take a sip and it's here already and I'm like, whoa. And I am still scared of like not being in control of my body. Like I still am quite apprehensive about that. And I don't really like the taste of a lot of drinks, so I'm not gonna drink them. But I just basically felt comfortable in a situation with others where I felt like I could drink and I was going to be okay. Something that I find super interesting, and this has been very controversial for quite a long time because the research has actually been interpreted wrongly. So basically there has been this prevailing view that alcohol is like okay or alright in moderation but harmful in excess. And these big population studies, what we call epidemiology, looking at people's drinking behaviors and then their risks of developing certain diseases, they they largely looked at the risk of developing cardiovascular disease, not disease overall. But more importantly, what the results showed is that those who were light to moderate drinkers, they had a lower risk of developing cardiovascular disease in comparison to those who were not only heavy drinkers or heavier drinkers, but even the abstainers. So it was kind of concluded that drinking alcohol in moderation is protective in a way, because those individuals have a lower risk of developing, say, cardiovascular disease in comparison to those who don't drink at all. But as I said, it's recently come to light that when this data was looked at in a lot more detail, and the reason why we got this J-shaped curve from these original studies was because those in the abstainers category, they include what we call sick abstainers, people who chose not to drink alcohol or gave up drinking because it made their poor health even worse. And that's why for that group of individuals, the risk of developing, say, cardiovascular disease was inflated, and it was higher than those who drank in moderate amounts. So when studies adjusted for this and realized that that mistake had been made, the protective effects of drinking alcohol basically disappeared. The more you drink, the higher your risk of developing these diseases, for example, cardiovascular disease. So basically, we used the wrong reference group. Those abstainers were not just healthy abstainers, they were sick abstainers because they already had poor health, and so they chose not to drink because it just made it worse. I discovered that different drinks affected me in different ways. Does that make sense? So the majority, after a sip or, just a bit of a drink, I would feel very hyper and excited. That's what the majority of the drinks I tried did to me. And what did I try? I tried some cocktails, pina coladas, mojitos, the minty one, tequila. I tried some beer. Do not like beer at all. I've tried some cider. What else? Oh yeah, absinthe. We tried absinthe. That was not great. I probably had a tiny volume because I threw it all over my face, if you watch the video.
Oh, I went everywhere.
Only smile. I'll take a picture of that.
That tastes like...
It tastes like what?
It was actually disgusting. I've tried Jaeger bombs, Long Island iced teas. What's the drink? Oh my gosh, what is the drink? Oh yeah, vodka Red Bull. I can't believe that went out of my head. I've tried some different rums. So collectively, I have tried quite a lot. So if you want to know what something tastes like, I might have the answers for you. But yeah, going back to what I was saying about how drinks affected me, the majority just made me feel even more crazy and hyper. But it was the sangria. Oh yeah, sangria is another one that I tried. We actually made our own sangria. When I had that, okay, and I don't know whether it was because it had wine in it and the wine maybe made me feel quite sleepy and lethargic, or it might have been to do with the fact that we put a lot of fruit in the sangria and I ate a lot of the fruit. She doesn't learn her lesson, obviously, and I didn't really like the way that drink affected me. I just felt, yeah, not really excited. We still did go out, but I just didn't really like how it immediately affected me. Those that drink quite a lot of alcohol, so heavy alcohol users, they are at risk of developing what's called alcoholic pancreatitis, so inflammation of the pancreas. But as I said, the majority of metabolism of ethanol occurs in the liver, and so not surprisingly, a lot of people will develop alcoholic liver disease as a result of drinking alcohol. There are 3 different types of alcoholic liver disease, and they kind of increase in severity. So you have what's called fatty liver, where fat kind of accumulates in this organ. You have alcoholic hepatitis, which is inflammation or acute short-term inflammation of the liver, and then alcoholic cirrhosis, which is the most severe form, and that's when we start to see destruction of the liver tissue and the formation of scar tissue. But we do know that there are lots of other factors involved in contributing to, say, alcoholic cirrhosis, because only about 20% of those who drink alcohol will go on to develop this most severe form. So it's not just due to drinking. Alcohol is probably necessary but not sufficient alone to cause alcoholic cirrhosis. But yeah, those are just 2 examples of how drinking alcohol can have a negative impact on 2 organs in your body. But as I said, alcohol travels all around the body, so it can, have an effect on pretty much any organ. So the heart, your lungs, muscles, bones, it can impact fertility. Alcohol can potentially have a huge range of consequences on your body. So yeah, we're now gonna answer some questions that you guys sent in because you had some really interesting ones. So the first one is, have you ever had a hangover? And as I said, no, I haven't. Do you think you can be more yourself when you are drinking? No. Like, as I said, for me, it just made me feel even crazier. What made you want to try it? I am also teetotal and can't see myself ever drinking, so I'm curious. To be honest with you, I thought the same. But like, as I said, I'm very much just like very open to trying new things. And I was just curious to see like what these drinks tasted like, how they kind of affected me. But I also know and have known for a long time that I can have a good time without it. Why didn't you want to drink alcohol before? Was it because of liquid calories? So quite a few people actually brought this up because you obviously know my past. I have struggled with eating and body image and stuff. But to be honest with you, I never really thought about alcohol and calories. That's not one of the reasons why I didn't choose to drink in the past. Like, it had nothing to do with my struggles with food and body image and stuff. Okay, did you ever experience peer pressure when trying alcohol? The answer is no. Like, I made all of the decisions myself, as I said in the vlogs and as I've said in this video. Somebody says, what's your fave? How much have you tried? I've kind of answered the second part of this question in the video so far. I say my favorite, I think it still has to be a pina colada, I'm not gonna lie. And I just get that as a mocktail, to be honest with you. I just love that flavor combination. This is an interesting question. Scared of losing control but might want to try. Tips. So this is basically my situation. I would maybe try a bit of alcohol in a situation and with other people that you feel very comfortable with. I would also be very vocal about the fact that, you know, you don't normally drink, you are scared for these reasons, because I did say that as well to like my friends like Charlie and Dan and Ellie and Jess, who I was traveling with. They knew that. This is like not really a question, kind of a question. A lot of people ask reasons why someone wouldn't drink, but flip it around and ask why do people drink, and you could compare those maybe. Yeah, I mean, it is a very valid point. Like, a lot of people do ask, you know, why don't you drink alcohol, just because it kind of is the norm for people to drink. And so I guess if people do ask you that, you can just, you know, say out of curiosity, why do you drink? Obviously it's not coming from a point of judgment at all, but if you do find people asking you why you don't drink and you feel a little bit of pressure, then just ask them why they drink. And people, if they are friends and if they truly respect you, they will respect your decisions as well, okay? If they don't, they're not your people to be around. Do you like the feeling of being tipsy / drunk? So I've never been drunk, as I said. The feeling of being tipsy, I don't know, it's quite funny to watch it back on camera, I'm not gonna lie. I do remember everything. I don't really know what's happening after that, but it's gonna go to phone vlog time now, because if I take you guys out, I'm very scared that I won't get it back. And I do feel like sometimes it brought me a bit more out of my shell sort of thing, because I have kind of struggled with a bit of social anxiety, and when I did drink, it would make me a bit more hyper and I'd be with people I didn't know. Like, I could kind of talk more easily, I guess. But yeah, I am getting more confident in myself now anyway. I used to be teetotal too in my early 20s, but not now in my late 20s. How did my family and friends react? I kind of wanted to answer this question because my family's reactions have been quite funny, to be honest with you. I feel like whenever we go out now and like we're having, say, a family meal or something, my dad is always like, oh hey Hol, do you want a drink now? Do you want to try something? And I'm like, no dad, I'm fine. If I wanted to, I would get one myself. Some of you guys did ask me directly, like, does alcohol cause cancer? Now, as I said before, that acetaldehyde that is produced during liver metabolism of ethanol, that is an identified carcinogen, so it is a cancer causing agent. And drinking alcohol, yes, does increase your risk of various forms of cancer, so like colorectal cancer, liver cancer, esophageal cancer. And even though we don't know exactly how alcohol is causing cancer, like the mechanisms are still being studied, we do know that acetaldehyde is very much involved. It's a toxic substance. It causes DNA damage, for example, which is really important in driving cancer. And drinking alcohol, for example, can lead to the production of what we call reactive oxygen species, so like ROS. And these are really highly reactive substances that can, for example, like cause damage to DNA as well. And they are also involved in tumorigenesis or carcinogenesis, the development of cancer basically. So yeah, did drinking alcohol make you do stuff you wouldn't have done and maybe regret it afterwards? No, it didn't. As I said, I've always been fully in control even after having a drink of alcohol. The final question in this video then is, did alcohol play a role in your first kiss? Yes, I did open up about this in the Spain Q&A, the official video, which I can link on the screen down below. Did it play a role in that? Now, it happened in a club, as we know, as I spoke about. That was the evening actually when I tried some of the absinthe. I think I'd had some rum and coke maybe. Like, I hadn't had a full drink to myself. I'd had a pineapple juice, I remember I got that. But I think I'd just been sipping and trying drinks. So again, I was not drunk. I was maybe a tiny bit tipsy. But as I said, like, I was still in control. I knew what I was doing. And so even though a bit of alcohol was in my system, I wouldn't say it played a role in that first kiss, we could say. You guys sent in a lot more questions, and if you do have any more, then you can leave those down below because I do answer random questions in my weekly vlogs. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I'm gonna finish this, and I'm also gonna tell you what it is. It is a kombucha. It's an apple crisp flavored one, and that is why I'm burping. Also, it's very out of date. It is a fermented drink, so maybe that wasn't the best idea, but it was a non-alcoholic drink. But that is it from me and my drink. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, definitely give it a thumbs up if you did, comment down below, subscribe if you are new, and hit the bell so you know when I upload. And as always, I'll speak to you very soon in another video. Bye! Does anyone else tap it 3 times? Basically, we need to address some more of what happened when I was traveling this summer. I've started burping. I need to aim like really well. If this goes over my desk, I'm actually gonna cry. I don't know what colour this glass is normally, but they're really nice glasses, by the way. Anyway, motive? No. My motto? Whoa, now I'm choking on this drink. Right, what's the next question, everybody? We like to drink with Holly, and what is that song? I don't even know. The last sip. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Cheers, everybody. It's 3:36 and it feels so dark in my room. This is actually tragic. Ugh.